Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. It's Thursday Morning Live, and I am running fast this morning already. Glad that you're here. If you're new to the show, welcome. I know we're starting a little bit late here, a couple of technical issues this morning. You know, when you get guys that just don't know how to use a computer, like myself, sometimes I can't figure out how to even turn it on. So glad that you're here this morning. Listen, if you are new to the show, grab some coffee, buckle up. This morning, we're going to talk to a Chicago area entrepreneur and just talk about creativeness in business, right? And different things that you can do, different strategies. So sit back, grab this. Hey, my guest this morning is Joe Drew. Joe has become a friend over the last year or so through Carl, who used to do Saturday mornings with me. And you know, they are Joe's in the roofing business in the northwest or the western suburbs of Chicago, and we're going to talk about being an entrepreneur in this environment. Let me bring him in. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, listen, I just want to say real quick, anybody on this morning, you have a comment, you want to drop a question, use the chat. Make sure if you're watching us on social media, you like us, love us, follow us, subscribe to Multifamily Unplugged, where you're going to get a boatload of new information on a daily basis. Joe, it's hot in Chicago, man.
Man, I tell you what, as you know, I just sailed the Pacific to Hawaii and Mexico, although I didn't go to Maui and I didn't go to Mexico because of the fires and the hurricane. And then coming back here, dude, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's like you go outside, it's like somebody gives you a big wet hug, you know?
It is just, I'm drenched walking to the truck and getting to the office. I was like, man, but it is what it is. Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, welcome to Chicago. Hey, one thing about Chicago, you know, I mean, ever since I was young, you can always count on the weather changing really quick. So
yeah, and listen, the food here. I tell everybody, you know, the food here is the best on the planet. So that's the one good thing with Chicago.
We'll get to the food. That's for sure. especially you, me, and Carl.
Amen.
We can do some damage, no doubt about that.
You know what's funny, real quick? So we're coming back on the trip, and I went with my two boys, 7 and 8. And so the 7-year-old's like, I can't wait to go to Portillo's after 19 days on a cruise ship. So that was
my gosh, and 19 days at the buffet, right?
Yeah, yeah. I ate probably twice as much daily than I normally do. So it was awesome. You know.
Yeah, good, awesome. Good. Well, I'm glad you made it back safe. You didn't get burned. You didn't get hit by a tidal wave. You know. What a time, though, right?
Dude, we had volcanoes. We had earthquakes back in Los Angeles. We had hurricanes. I mean, it was pretty remarkable of what ended up happening. So a once in a lifetime trip to Hawaii and Mexico, and we didn't go to Maui and we didn't go to Mexico. So it happens.
Yeah. Hey, listen, let's kick this off. I always ask one question of my guests. And, you know, I keep threatening I'm going to write a book, right? I'm going to take all of these answers and I'm going to write a book. But in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
In one word. That's a good question. You know, I would, if you asked other people, they'd give you a different word, but I'm a student. I'm a student. I love learning. It's what drives me. You know, I'm very competitive, very motivated, but I would say a student of the game.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you know, I think that's something you have to continue to do. You know, you got to continue to keep learning. And, you know, I have this tendency, I like to hire people or surround myself with people younger than me because I think that they know a lot more. Right? Because they know how the world's running today.
Sure.
I think you become a student by doing that as well.
You have to stay engaged. I mean, again, just you talked about it, the technology, even, you know, I run on a Mac and here, you know, I got to download Chrome and everything else. So today more than ever, you have to stay plugged in, especially just from the technology side, because the game is changing. Of how we interact, of how business interacts, how relationships are interacting, it is changing. And our kids and the young ones coming up, they don't have the luxury that you and I have of old school and new school. And I think that's what allows us to separate us from the rest of the pack as well.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, what's one thing you've learned in the last 30 days? One new thing you've learned?
I have to stick to the cruise with regards to life's going to throw you curveballs, Mike. I mean, listen, it's a once in a lifetime trip. This was for my parents' 55th anniversary. And, it was a 19-day cruise to Hawaii, Mexico. There was 75 different countries that represented this boat, right? So really unique. And, life is going to throw you curveballs. And as you know, when you're dealt with lemons, you make lemonade. And we did. Yeah.
Well, Carl read me that text that you sent about
did he? It's
something that happened every day. Somebody got sick, got airlifted, jumped overboard. Holy cow.
Every single day there was some emergency alert. From people, one guy got his eye poked out, which was the magician. We found that out at the end of the cruise. The magician, probably practicing, got his eye poked out, had an emergency event. It was one after another. It was crazy. It really was crazy.
Hey, you mentioned relationships a minute ago. Yeah. And, one thing I like to, when I'm building a relationship with somebody and I see somebody that at an event, or I get on the phone with somebody who I haven't talked to in a while, that's a question I really like to ask. Hey, you know what, since the last time we saw each other, what's something new you've learned? And I think that just goes into building that relationship and meeting people and connecting. So, hey, talk about your background a little bit and what you're currently doing.
Yeah. I tell everybody I was always a comedian growing up. I loved to laugh and I was a funny guy, but I really didn't have a lot of confidence. I was more one of those guys that was afraid of my own shadow. I can honestly say, like a caterpillar into a butterfly, for those that knew me in my mid-20s, I am a completely different individual. My identity completely changed. So when I get into deep conversations, understanding that we all hold an identity, and that how we hold ourselves is how we're projected. So understanding that inner game of life, which what you asked me, give me one word to describe yourself, and a student. The game of emotions, the game of thought, the game of action, right? So those three things, how we think, the emotions that we use, and the action, and understanding that we have the ability to control that or to change that. My life has been transformed once I learned that skill set, and I attempt to apply it, Mike. But every day is the ability for us to understand that. I have kids, I'm married, I have a business, I have business partners. You're interacting with life, and so every day creates an opportunity for us to understand and learn. Wow,
interesting. And what is your business, Joe?
So Greenlight Construction, I have a couple different divisions. So I'm a fourth generation contractor. So Greenlight Construction, I have a roofing division. I'm a federal contractor for the United States government. So we just finished 2 government contracts. I also have a solar division, which is Greenlight Energy. So those aspects is my business of what I do, from build design to government contracting to roofing and to renewable energy and solar.
Interesting. So what do you think, one of the things that we kind of talked about, putting this together was how do you have to be creative today in the world of construction and being a contractor? Where, I think in the business you're in, because I've been in that business, mm-hmm. right? And in that business, you got to wear so many different hats, right? No matter who you have working for you and people planting, you have to wear a ton of different hats.
Sure.
So, how do you keep up with that creativity?
It all stems from the relationship. We already talked about it. Business is is a business of relationships. And so I don't care what business that you're in, even if I had a job and worked at Panera Bread, it's what separates us from the rest of the pack is our ability to connect with the other humans. And the more authentic you can be, the more real you are, especially in today's world, you're going to stand out and have an advantage. End of story. So the authentic side, the willingness to engage gets the advantage, right? Because it's all starts with the relationship. Nobody wants to do business with somebody that we don't trust, right? That I just have a bad feeling about. And so that, I think that's what separates successful businesses from the average. And then you can multiply on that with marketing and just understanding the tools of today with technology.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this. Do you have roofers on roofs today?
Not today. We give them the day off on days like this. Today's a brutal day.
Boy, is it? That's funny though. I don't know. That just kind of came to me. It's like today would not be a day to be on a roof. That's
no. Yeah. And again, so there's from a residential side, you're installing shingles, right? So that the asphalt gets extremely hot. So it would be a real short day. On the commercial side, you're installing a white reflective TPO. So that sun is shining back at your eyes. I mean, it's hot up there. The commercial is a little bit easier just because it's a white, a membrane that you're working on versus an asphalt, but you got to be careful because you got to keep the body hydrated.
So talk about TPO for a minute, for people that might not know, and I know that I have a lot of listeners that are in the real estate business, multifamily space, right? Flat roofs are common, especially in the city of Chicago. What exactly is TPO? So
TPO is the terminology is thermal olipropylene membrane, something like you put me on cue there. So it is a plastic 60 mil dense membrane. I call it the Rolls Royce of roofing today. So it's very, very durable. The old school is going to be more of a torch down modified, and I still have guys like you that we work for, that always prefer the torch down, just because it's been around for forever and it's very durable. But if you got in a helicopter and I flew over Chicago with it, you would see all the new construction jobs are all going to be a TPO membrane.
Last longer?
It lasts longer. Again, it's still the maintenance, right, is a key aspect. If you don't maintain the roof and you don't keep it clean, that will start to break down. You got to make sure the water that runs off that and drains on a roof. So, we do maintenance programs to keep everything clean. We'll go up there twice a year with regards to it. But the white reflectiveness with regards to the new systems is what allows a roof to last just a little bit longer than a standard asphalt roof, even a granulated roof.
Yeah. And how long will TPO last? Let's say your average building owner's not maintaining it, not going up there once or twice a year and cleaning it up, or doing an inspection on it. What's the life expectancy out of a roof?
The standard manufacturer warranty is going to be 20 years on a TPO.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you might not get a small leak somewhere.
Well, correct.
Yeah. Especially in climate, right? Doesn't climate have a lot to do with it too? Where here we're in a climate that we freeze in the winter time and it's boiling hot in the summertime, and if you got standing water on there and it's baking and freezing and popping, you're gonna have those challenges, right?
Yeah, I tell every client of mine, we live in the worst climate on the planet. We live in the worst climate because we have the extremes of both, the extremes of winter and the extremes of summertime. And because of that, our buildings, our homes, construction moves. Just look at our roads, right? Our roads are hot garbage because of that continuous temperature change and the expansion and contraction. So you have to pay attention. And your roof. Let's talk about investors, right? You have a building. The roof never has a day off. So 365, 7 days a week, right? 24/7. That roof is being every day, every temperature. It's at play. So it's one of those things where you have to have a good roofing contractor that has your back with regards to any, just keeping the small little maintenance will make a world of a difference to keeping the longevity of that system working and operable. And again, we get to catch things. If all of a sudden I see a seam starting to come up, God, it's just easy to patch versus you getting a leak. And that's in the roofing industry. It's because it's neglected. You as a building owner I get the call when you have a leak, and that's the worst time to have, because that's the most expensive repair for you. Is the fact of, okay, it's a leak. Where is it? We got to find it, and then obviously address it, and let alone your interior side of it.
Well, based on the fact that most roofing materials are oil-based, is there a big fluctuation in cost? And how often?
Yeah, there's the last year we had about 7 price increases throughout the year.
Wow.
Yeah. So
have they come back down, or?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It typically doesn't come back down. If you're having multiple price increases and then all of a sudden you have 1 or 1.5 decrease, you're still significantly higher at that point in time. Again, it's a game. It's business, right? It's politics. Because it's oil based, as the cost of petroleum and the cost of barrel of oil goes up, so does the building material. But Mike, the last 2 years, 3 years, with COVID and then supply chain, it was absolutely brutal what we had to go through just from a construction standpoint, not just roofing, all of it, just because of supply chains and supply and demand.
Yeah. How about during COVID? Did it, and has your environment bounced back since then, since those delays and shortages and price increases? Because I know lumber doubled, right, in cost. Did the same thing happen with roofing?
Sure. And to answer your last question, it's back, right? So there's not necessarily a supply chain issue, but it was pretty remarkable being what do they call us? I was able to work because what do they call us? The people that could go out of their house and do work like medical, right?
Essential workers.
Yes, because we were an essential worker. My business never stopped. We didn't really slow down. The biggest issue was 2021, because at that point, for example, on a commercial aspect, all the polyiso, which is the insulation base that goes underneath the roof, was obsolete. And so only the contracts for schools and for hospitals were able to execute on commercial. So that was really, really, really challenging. Luckily, I was able to survive that because we had smaller jobs and, didn't need, 500,000 square feet of materials. So the companies that had a warehouse full of materials, we had to improvise. We're working with different roofing contractors to say, hey, can I borrow this? Can you got any of this? Just to kind of get by. So 21 was really, really challenging.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your other business. You're in the solar business. And I think you focus mostly on commercial, don't you? Or do
both.
You do both?
Yeah, both residential and commercial. Yeah, and that being in the space that I'm in with roofing, August of last year, so a year ago, my entire career changed, because when this administration passed the Inflation Reduction Act, all of a sudden, I'm a student, as I'm studying how this is impacting my business, I recognized, and I'll back up a little bit. In my business, being in the roofing industry, the game of solar, right, kept appearing over these last 4 or 5 years. And to be honest, it was one of those things when I don't want to do anything new. I want to stay in my lane. I don't want to have to learn a new trade. I don't want to have to learn anything new. I just, nah. Kept pushing away. That changed the direction for me because I recognized that all of a sudden that the avenue of roofing changed because of solar. Even in residential, I can now fund your home roof simply by giving you the opportunity of going solar and reducing your cost, your energy, your ComEd bill. Because in Illinois, we can exchange our ComEd bill for solar, and that your payment that's going to be 100% financed through third party, the government financing, is going to be less than what you're paying right now to ComEd. So it's a no-brainer at that point. And then I can roll in the cost of a roof. So if you needed a roof and didn't want to have to pay out of pocket, you're using the government funding in order to do so. Everybody's approved for the most part. It's a remarkable thing. When all of a sudden I'm seeing my clients being approved for $50,000, $60,000 for a solar project and the solar costs 30, like, can I use the other 30 or the other 12 or 15 for the roof? And the answer was yes. And so that's really where I started to pay attention. On the commercial side, you brought up Carl. That is where the game really changed because the same vehicle and the same mechanics apply on the commercial as they do to the residential. So all of a sudden, if I have a $500,000 or $1 million project, the ability to bring in the financing through third-party financing, government financing, sponsored financing, to pay for the roof and pay for the solar is a game-changing scenario. So like you said, this last year it's full steam ahead with regards to the solar and the roofing because those two get paired together. And we're in a very unique time whereby the incentives, especially in the commercial, offset and pay for the system. So it's a game-changing scenario for us.
And there's a bunch of credit and credits that come back to you.
You're seeing that, aren't you?
Yeah. And you know, it's almost, and I look at this because you and I are doing a creative deal with Carl. Yep. We're in the process of buying a factory, and we're going to put a new solar system on it and sell the solar power back to the owner. And that's going to be part of the rent. And there's other carbon credits and tax credits that come back. And you know, when I first started this conversation, I didn't believe it. And, you know, I have to imagine that your average building owner, your average homeowner isn't going to believe it at first, to believe that they can get such a reduction in the installation cost, much less the energy cost, much less putting cash back in their pocket.
Correct.
You know, and, you know, again, keep learning, right? Yeah. Keep educating yourself. And that's what I would tell building owners today and homeowners to get the education because it's real.
On the commercial side, Mike, it's astonishing because what you said, even for you didn't believe it. For me, I didn't believe. It just doesn't make sense. And we've had times where all of a sudden the CEO we're dealing with is like hands behind his head goes, what's the catch? You know, and it is too good to be true. But there's a reason why the government stepped in. And once you understand why that's happening, listen, the American grid on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being outstanding, 1 being horrible, where do you think the grid is?
6.
2, 3. It's horrible.
Really?
Yes. Listen, the American grid, the electrical grid was built between World War I and World War II. Okay. So if you look at right now, California, let's just take California. They have natural brownouts because the demand for power is greater than the supply. So what's happening in the East Coast and the West Coast, if we're in California, the cost of a kilowatt would go from about 19 cents that we're paying right now at this time, which is 9 o'clock in the morning. Once we hit the time between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m., that cost goes from 19 cents to 55 cents a kilowatt. So the electric company, including ComEd, is creating a peak demand cost to deter me, and everybody else to start controlling the use of power. Okay, so that's a big deal. Now, what's happening? We're on this electrical push. We want to electrify America. This is what people don't understand. And so when I'm in meetings, even on this one, you don't know that the electrification of the United States is underway. Okay, we have mandates by 2035 that ComEd has to be producing 70% clean energy, which is physically impossible, which is why ComEd and all the utility companies are motivated to help sustain that, because the only way this could be done, the only way that the electrification of the United States can happen is if you and your buildings participate, you and your home participates. If you looked at every roof on Home Depot has solar in almost every one of their buildings. Target has solar in every one of their buildings. Walmart has solar on majority of their buildings. So what you and the public don't see, it is pretty astonishing. And why are they doing it? They're not doing it because they want to be green. They're doing it because of different mandates and because of the incentives that are there. And it becomes a smart business decision on that. So if you and I can't change the electrification of the United States, it's underway. There's mandates at play. There is a high chance that it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, you're screwed. I'm screwed. The building that I'm in is screwed because the cost of energy becomes so high. Do you know that this year alone, we've had 2 significant price increases with ComEd? $2.5 billion price increase with ComEd just went in effect July 1st. So look at your bill that you just received in August, and you're going to see a significant difference. And it's not because of the air conditioning. It's because the cost of your kilowatt went up significantly.
Interesting. No wonder my electric bill is doing what it's doing.
Yeah. So now when you see that it's such an easy opening, because my clients are all roofing clients. I'm now networking with all my roofing compadres because I don't need the roof anymore. I can tell them I have a vehicle to finance your roof. You bring me the client, you guys get the roof, we put the solar on, and it becomes a phenomenal marriage at that.
Well, and I love that, the phenomenal marriage piece, because, I the whole creativity thing and how we can be creative.
Yeah.
And, anybody who follows me and knows me, I've bought multi-family deals with no money down, with I bought a 450 unit apartment complex creatively, owner financing. I'm doing another one right now, creatively, owner financing. And what we're doing on the commercial side in buying a building and doing a lease back and running a triple net program, using solar as part of one of the spokes in the wheel is just phenomenal. And I would invite anybody who wants to hear a little bit more about that to reach out to Joe. Joe, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yeah, you can catch me on Facebook I'm Joe Drew on Facebook. I'm on Instagram as well. But the easiest way would be through Facebook, or if you want to send me a text message, if you want to give my number, I can give my number. That's fine too.
Are we going to see some of those pictures of that 19-day cruise on your Facebook?
I'll probably start posting those. The first one I had to post was just what happened every single day in order to get to that. But yeah, we'll post some photos as well.
That's funny. Hey, listen, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate you. It's been great to get to know you over the last year or so. And I'm looking forward to us doing some more business together.
Amen.
So anybody that wants to reach out to Joe, give him a call or follow him on Facebook. Learn a little bit more about the solar and how it can benefit you in your business or in your house.
Yeah.
And if you are